Angel Reese has quietly turned into one of the most must-watch players in the entire WNBA this season, and if you're not paying attention to what's happening in Atlanta right now, you are missing one of the best storylines in women's basketball. She left Chicago, she's playing angry, she's putting up numbers nobody expected, and she's doing it while sitting right in the middle of a controversy that has her fans absolutely furious. So let's get into everything going on with Angel Reese right now. Start with the basketball, because the basketball has been elite. This is Reese's first season with the Atlanta Dream after her time with the Chicago Sky, and the fit has been immediate. Through her games this season, she's averaging career-high numbers across the board: 14.9 points, 11.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1.6 steals a night, all while logging over 30 minutes a game. That's not just solid production, that's franchise cornerstone production. And the rebounding number is the one that jumps off the page, because rebounding has been Reese's calling card since the day she stepped into the league. She led the WNBA in rebounding in each of her first 2 seasons, and she set rookie records for total rebounds and rebounds per game that still stand. So watching her come to a new team and immediately be that same dominant force on the boards tells you this wasn't a system that was propping her up in Chicago. This is just who she is. And it's not just the per-game numbers either. Reese recently passed Tina Charles for the most double-doubles by any player in their first 3 WNBA seasons. Think about that for a second. That's a record that stood for over a decade, and Reese blew past it before she was even done with year 3. She's also been putting together long stretches of consistency, racking up double-doubles in 6 of her last 7 appearances at one point, which is the kind of streak that turns casual fans into believers. This is a player who shows up every single night, no matter who's guarding her or what the scoreboard says. Now here's where things get interesting, because on top of all that production, Reese has been dealing with some real adversity too. She missed a game with a leg issue, her first absence of the entire season, which was actually a notable moment because up until then she'd been the model of durability. But true to form, she came right back and dropped 23 points on ridiculous efficiency, shooting over 60% from the field for the first time all year, to go with 13 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals. That's not a cautious return from injury. That's a statement game. And she followed it up by adding to her double-double streak almost immediately, which tells you the leg wasn't holding her back for long. But the number that's been generating the most conversation this season isn't a positive one. It's her technical fouls. Reese has picked up 7 technicals already this year, and that number has fans and analysts split. Some see it as the fire and competitiveness that makes her must-watch television, the same edge that made her a lightning rod back in college. Others are worried it's becoming a real liability, because in a tight playoff race, a suspension from accumulated technicals could be the difference between Atlanta making a run and Atlanta watching from home. It's the kind of storyline that follows a player around all season, and every time Reese gets into it with an official or trash talks an opponent, it's going to get brought back up. And that competitive fire has shown up in other ways too. There was a viral moment where Reese was seen taunting an opposing player after scoring on her, which is exactly the kind of clip that splits a fan base right down the middle. Half the people watching love it, because it's authentic and it's Reese being Reese. The other half think it's exactly the kind of thing that's racking up those technical fouls in the first place. Either way, you cannot say this is a boring player. Every night there's a chance something happens that has people talking the next morning. Now let's get into the controversy that's actually made the most noise this season, the All-Star snub. Reese made the All-Star game again this year, her 3rd selection in 3 seasons, which on its own is impressive. But she was named as a reserve, not a starter, and she has never once been voted in as a starter in her career. What made this year sting more than usual is where Atlanta was sitting in the standings at the time. The Dream were tied for the top of the Eastern Conference, playing legitimate contender basketball, and yet not a single Atlanta player was named a starter for the All-Star game. Reese did not hold back about how she felt about that. She voiced real frustration publicly, and honestly, it's hard to blame her. When your team is performing at that level, and the league's biggest showcase game doesn't reflect that at all, it's gonna sting. Her fans picked up right where she left off. The reaction across social media was loud, with people pointing out that her numbers stack up against players who were voted in ahead of her, and plenty of fans making the case that if you strip away name recognition and just look at production, Reese has more than earned a starting nod. Remember, the fan vote counts for half of the total All-Star voting, so a lot of this comes down to visibility and popularity outside of Atlanta versus the bigger, more nationally known names in the league. It's not just a basketball conversation, it's a marketing and attention conversation. And that's exactly the kind of debate that keeps this storyline alive well past the actual game. Speaking of attention and marketing, Reese has been building her brand right alongside her game. She's already got her own signature sneaker with Reebok, the Angel Reese one, and the newest colorway called Expressive Pink drops this week. It ties directly into the nickname she's picked up since joining Atlanta, the ATL Barbie. And it's part of a larger identity she's built around being both feminine and fierce at the same time, refusing to choose one lane over the other. That kind of crossover appeal, on-court dominance paired with an off-court brand that resonates outside of basketball circles, is exactly why Reese has become one of the most talked about names in the entire league, not just among WNBA diehards. So where does that leave things heading into the rest of the season? Atlanta is playing like a real contender. Reese is putting up the best numbers of her career, she's rewriting record books that have stood for over a decade, and she's doing all of it while carrying a chip on her shoulder about not getting the recognition she thinks she deserves. That combination, dominant production plus a grudge to prove people wrong, has fueled some of the best runs we've seen from stars across every sport. If the Dream keep climbing the standings and Reese keeps putting up these numbers, that all-star starter snub is going to look more and more like fuel for next season rather than a slight that just gets forgotten. So here's the real question for you. Does Angel Reese deserve to be a starter next year based on what she's doing right now? Or is the technical foul trouble and the reputation that comes with it part of why voters are still hesitant? Drop your take in the comments, because this is one of those debates that isn't going away anytime soon. If you want more breakdowns like this on the players actually driving the conversation in women's basketball right now, make sure you're subscribed, because this season has way more storylines coming.